first time Daniel noticed it, he assumed it was a prank. A single sheet of paper clinging to the outside of his bedroom window, held in place by the cold night air. The message, scrawled in uneven black ink, was simple. Do not open, no matter what. The handwriting was rough, jagged, as though someone had written it in a hurry, or with a shaking hand. He leaned in, peering through the glass into the darkness outside. Nothing. Just the silent, empty street. His apartment was on the 3rd floor. There was no balcony. No way for someone to reach the window without a ladder, or something worse. Daniel hesitated. A creeping unease curled through him as he lifted the window just enough to slip his hand out and snatch the note away. He flipped it over, expecting some kind of explanation on the back. It was blank. He crumpled the paper and tossed it into the trash. By morning, he had almost convinced himself it had been a strange dream. Almost. The next night it returned. The note was pressed against the glass exactly as before, the same 5 words staring at him like a silent warning. This time, Daniel's pulse quickened. He yanked the curtain shut, turning away, before his imagination could start filling in the gaps. But the feeling lingered, the sense that something, somewhere, was watching. At 2:47 a.m., he woke up. He didn't know why at first. The room was silent, the air still. Then he heard it. A knock. Soft, deliberate. From the window. Daniel's breath hitched. He stayed perfectly still, his body tense beneath the covers. Maybe it was the wind. Maybe another knock. A pause. Then a whisper. Faint. Almost indistinguishable from the rustling of leaves outside. But he heard it. A voice. Daniel. His name. His stomach turned to ice. He clenched his jaw, forcing himself not to move, not to breathe too loudly. His mind raced through explanations, none of them comforting. It was someone messing with him. It had to be. He didn't sleep the rest of the night. By morning, the note was gone. That evening, he taped the window shut. Just in case, it didn't help. The 3rd night, it happened again. The knock, the whisper, the slow, deliberate sound of something testing the glass. Daniel lay in bed, rigid with fear, listening as the knocks continued. Patient, persistent. Daniel. It came in a hushed, breathy whisper. A sound too close, too knowing. He wanted to check. Every instinct screamed against it, but curiosity gnawed at the edges of his terror. Just a quick glance, just to prove it was nothing. Slowly, he turned his head. A shadow moved behind the curtain. Not the wind, not a trick of the light. A figure, right there. Daniel bolted upright, scrambling away from the window, heart hammering against his ribs. He grabbed his phone, fingers fumbling to turn on the flashlight. But by the time he worked up the courage to pull the curtain back, nothing. Just the empty street below. No footprints, no ladder. No sign that anyone had been there at all. But the note had returned, pressed to the glass, unmoving. Do not open, no matter what. And this time, the ink was still wet. Daniel stopped for sleeping. The knocking came every night now, always at the same time. 2:47 a.m. Not a second sooner, not a second later. Soft, deliberate taps against the glass. A slow, rhythmic sound, patient as if it had all the time in the world. And always, the whisper, Daniel. The first few nights he lay frozen in bed, refusing to move. He squeezed his eyes shut, gripping the blankets until his knuckles ached, counting the knocks like they were seconds on a clock. But it never lasted. Eventually, his body forced him to check. His gaze would drift toward the window, the weight of unseen eyes pressing down on him. Sometimes, he swore he could see a shadow shifting behind the curtain, a shape barely distinguishable when he pulled the fabric back, there was never anything there. And yet, the note always returned. Do not open, no matter what. By the seventh night, Daniel had stopped trying to rationalize it. There was no reason, no explanation, no escape. He covered the window with duct tape, sealing every crack. The knocking still came. He stacked furniture against it, pushing his dresser up against the wall, placing his heaviest books on top. The knocking still came. He moved to the living room, thinking that maybe, if he wasn't near the window, he wouldn't hear it. The knocking followed him. No matter where he slept, it was always there. 2:47 a.m. Daniel. His name in a voice that was almost human. Almost. He stopped sleeping altogether. By the 10th night, he barely recognized himself in the mirror. His eyes were sunken, his skin pale, his hands unsteady. His body begged for rest, but the moment his eyelids drooped, the knocking would start again. He left all the lights on. It didn't help. He played music loud enough to drown out everything else. It didn't help. He tried to leave, packed a bag, booked a hotel across town, locked the apartment behind him, and drove until he couldn't see the building in his rearview mirror. That night at 2:47 a.m., the hotel window knocked. Daniel didn't move. He didn't breathe. He had chosen the 4th floor. No balconies, no trees, no way for someone to be outside. But the knock came anyway, followed by the whisper, "Daniel." He left the hotel at dawn, returning to his apartment because it no longer mattered where he was. The knocking would find him. The note was waiting for him when he got back. Not just on the window now, on the bathroom mirror, on the fridge, on the inside of his bedroom door. Do not open, no matter what. Each one written in the same rough, frantic script, each one wet with fresh ink. Daniel sat on the floor, hands gripping his head. He couldn't keep doing this, couldn't keep living in fear of the next knock, the next whisper. He thought about calling someone, the police, a priest, a doctor. But what would he even say? That something invisible was stalking him, that it knew his name, that it was only getting closer. The next night he stayed awake until 2:47 a.m., staring at the window, waiting. When the knock came, he didn't flinch. When the whisper followed, he barely reacted. But then, for the first time, the handle turned. Not a knock, not a whisper. The window handle turned. Daniel's breath caught in his throat. His pulse pounded in his ears, drowning out every rational thought. The note had always said the same thing. Do not open, no matter what. But he wasn't opening it. It was opening on its own. The handle turned slowly, deliberately, as if testing the lock. Daniel sat frozen, breath shallow, every nerve in his body screaming at him to move, to do something. But fear had him pinned. The window creaked. A sliver of night air slipped through the gap, colder than it should have been. The tape he had used to seal the edges strained and peeled away, curling like withered skin. His heart slammed against his ribs as he lunged forward, grabbing the handle with both hands, forcing it back down. His grip was slick with sweat, his arms trembling. Something was pulling from the other side. Not hard, not aggressively, just testing. Daniel squeezed his eyes shut, straining against the invisible force, his fingers aching with effort. He could feel it, something beyond the glass, something that had waited, whispered, watched. Now it was reaching. The whisper came again, softer than before. Daniel. This time, it wasn't outside. The sound was behind him. His eyes snapped open. He barely had time to turn before the lights flickered and died. The darkness swallowed the room whole, and in that silence, He heard it, breathing, a slow, deliberate inhale, a ragged, shuddering exhale, right behind him. Daniel didn't move. He couldn't. His hands were still clenched around the window handle, knuckles white, body locked in place. A cold touch grazed the back of his neck. Not fingers. Not quite. Something else. Something that had never needed the window at all. The whispers had only been distractions. The knocking, an invitation to look outside. It had never been outside. It had been inside all along. Daniel's breath hitched. The touch lingered, pressing against his skin, like a breath frozen in time. Then, a voice, not a whisper, a voice. You left it open once. A memory, sharp and sudden, flooded Daniel's mind. A single night, weeks ago, maybe months, he had opened the window just a crack to let in the cool air. He had closed it moments later, thinking nothing of it. But it had been enough. Enough for something to slip inside. Enough for something to stay. His grip loosened. His body trembled. The thing behind him shifted closer. The breath at his neck turned to a sigh. Now, you don't need the window at all. The darkness around him moved. Daniel screamed. Then the window slammed shut, and the knocking finally stopped.